His return, we'll tell you the one team that benefits most from his decision. Plus, the easiest decision any team makes this offseason may be the hardest for their best player. We'll show you exactly what's at stake for the Super Bowl chance. And the commissioner apologizes for a poor choice of words. But does he have any path out of the mess his sport finds itself in? We'll answer those and other questions as we get up with you, starting right now. J. Will's got the turtleneck working.
Yes, he does.
Next season.
Very quietly last night, a move was made in the NBA that could absolutely decide the championship. We'll get to all of that. But first, speaking of championships, the first quarterback domino of the 2020 NFL offseason fell yesterday. 41-year-old Drew Brees announcing on Instagram that he plans to return for his 20th season. He's set to be an unrestricted free agent next month, but he's made it clear he has no interest in playing for anyone other than New Orleans. This was the post. My feelings about the 2020 season, I look forward to the grind and the journey, for the reward at the end will be worth it. Love you, Who Dat Nation. Let's make another run at it. So he's all in. Meanwhile, sounds like Taysom Hill is too. He was a guest on Shefty's podcast. He had this reaction to the news about Brees.
I'm so excited for Drew to come back. You know, he's become such a good friend, such a, great mentor to me. And I told him that, man, I sure hoped he came back and played. I felt like it was better for the NFL for him to be playing. And certainly, great thing for the Saints and for all of us to continue to watch him play. Obviously, there's a process going to restricted free agency, and we'll go through that process and see what happens. But, man, I would love to play with Drew again.
All right, so there's so many different pieces of this, including the domino that will fall involving Teddy Bridgewater, which we'll get to. But let's start with this. What does this mean for the Saints this coming season?
This is huge news. They now become Super Bowl favorites out of the NFC in my eyes. When you look at the NFC, you talk about the Packers, the Saints, and then you look at the Seahawks and probably a wild card team. With Drew Brees coming back, you could Sharpie him in, not pen, not pencil, Sharpie them into the playoffs. Drew Brees, the last 3 seasons, he has the top QB percentage. And the last 3 seasons, he's also the winningest quarterback when you talk about winning percentage. So Drew Brees isn't just a great quarterback. He's a future Hall of Fame quarterback that the Saints love to have and just got him.
And I personally just feel good that he's not going to go out off these 3 losses. The way the Saints season has ended in each of the last 3 seasons has been excruciating. So run it back with the all-time great quarterback and try and win it. The next question I have is, what is Taysom Hill's role in this? Because he's become a fascinating wild card in all of this. And my 2 least favorite words in basketball are load management. But could they actually apply here? Does Taysom Hill actually become a secondary weapon to give Brees some rest? Because that arm, as the season goes on, does seem to weaken.
In the perfect world, you would want to say yes. In my opinion, maybe 15% of an offense, but you can't do much more than that, in my opinion. Listen, Drew Brees is the reason you just Sharpied it in, right? Yep. I mean, like, you Sharpie him because of Drew Brees, not because of Taysom Hill. You've seen Taysom Hill do a number of different things, special teams, offense, you name it. He can do it. He can catch. He can throw. He has not been the franchise guy that has led your team to playoff after playoff. And here's the deal. Everybody wants to give Drew Brees the issue. He has had his team in position to win the last 3 playoff games. It is not on Drew Brees. You just talked about the fatigue in his arm, all those things. But the bottom line, when he walked off the field, they should have won the game. Yes. And they haven't, because 1 penalty, 1 miracle, I get it. But at the end of the day, he's done everything you can do to put yourself in a position to win.
The counter to that, and I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but the counter is, Drew Brees 2 years ago was the MVP of the league through the first 12 or 13 weeks, and there has been a decided drop-off late in the year, which is not, it's understandable. The man's going to be 41 years old. So that's why I keep wondering if that change of pace becomes more valuable in New Orleans than it could be anywhere else.
And that's an interesting thought. And over the course of a season, roughly there's about 1,000 plays on offense. So, Greeny, to your point, maybe over the course of the season, Taysom Hill gets 300-400 snaps, some of which when Drew Brees is on the sidelines. Now, we got to pump our brakes a little bit here. Taysom Hill has less completions than Mohamed Sanu does as of now. So while we're encouraged by what we see now at Taysom Hill, we have to keep it within proper context. But I do think they're in an ideal situation from this standpoint. There's a great axiom in football, guys. We have to win for today and develop for tomorrow. And the Breeze Taysom Hill situation is ideal for the Saints.
Yes.
You know who says that? GMs. Planning for tomorrow. Any player in the Saints locker room planning for tomorrow. They don't know if tomorrow is
Tomorrow's not
They
promised.
want to win today.
He didn't want me to draft his replacement, that's why.
Gives you the best chance to win. That's my guy.
You're
I love
exactly
that.
right. Like Taysom Hill, great football player. Let me say this again.
Yeah.
Great football player. Not a great quarterback. Drew Brees, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, at least of
point.
this generation. So bump tomorrow, because like you said, for a player, I might not be here tomorrow. I'm just hoping to get to Tuesday for that game check. Drew Brees gets you not only to Tuesday, to Sunday, but to the Super Bowl if you're a Saint.
I'm good with all of that. So now, instead of the 3 guys in their quarterback room, there will be 2. And we assume this certainly means Teddy Bridgewater won't be back. He was 5-0 last year when he was playing for them. He will be highly sought after. A little bit later in this hour, we'll tell you the one place he should definitively go. But I guess I'll just throw this out there, ask a question and duck. Does anyone think that in the long run, they would have been better off keeping Teddy Bridgewater, signing him to a long-term contract, rather than going one more year with Brees?
Well, for me, like as Acho was saying, they have a chance to win a championship right now. And because Taysom Hill is so intriguing, despite Jeff's concerns, we are going to worry about the future. We are going to develop another quarterback. So, Greeny, I think your point is reasonable if you didn't have Hill, but since you do,
But 2 years from now, would you rather have Teddy Bridgewater or Taysom Hill as your quarterback?
we don't know. I mean, Taysom Hill, as Acho said, he's a football player.
For sure know, Mike.
Let's see where it goes.
Bro.
I'm a big Teddy Bridgewater fan. We'll get to him in a minute. But Taysom Hill is intriguing.
The only thing intriguing about Hill is the fact that the dude can play fullback, receiver, tight end, and run down on kickoff. But the Saints had a chance to start Bridgewater or Hill, and they chose Bridgewater. They made the right decision.
Yeah, you used exactly the right word. Taysom Hill is intriguing. It's not exactly clear what he could eventually be. Meanwhile, as I told you, in about a half hour, we will tell you the one place that Teddy Bridgewater absolutely should go and have a real chance to win the Super Bowl next year. Meanwhile, let's get to Ryan Tannehill, because he, in Tennessee, enters free agency on the heels of leading the Titans to the AFC Championship game. His teammate, Derrick Henry, came to the defense of his quarterback when he was asked about the possibility of swapping out Tannehill for the legendary Tom Brady. This is what Henry said when he was on Taylor Lewan and Will Compton's podcast. He said, "Why isn't Ryan good enough? You know, Tom Brady is the GOAT. There's no question at all, the best of all time. But then at the same time, I mean, Ryan Tannehill is our quarterback, went to the AFC Championship. Why would we not want Ryan back?" Jeff Saturday, I'll ask you that question. Why would they not want Ryan Tannehill back?
Yeah, I think this shows locker room love. I mean, I think you can see Derrick Henry, the relationship he has with his quarterback. And again, you have this kind of nostalgia from last season, right? We made the AFC Championship game. We had a chance. We beat Tom Brady, right? We sent him home. So in his opinion, in his mindset, he's thinking, hey, for today, this is what I have. I will also say, little self-preservation, right? Tom Brady comes to town, the number gets much higher than Tannehill. Derrick Henry is up. He wants as much as he can get as well. It kind of puts a little situation from a cap perspective on Henry and Brady. But you have to understand, in the locker room, it takes time to build credibility, relationship, all of those things. I think with Derrick Henry, it's already established, and that's where he wants to go.
Acho, let me ask you the question this way. This is a team that obviously is thinking Super Bowl thoughts. They were one win away from the Super Bowl a year ago. Do they have a better chance of getting to next year's Super Bowl with Tom Brady as their quarterback or Ryan Tannehill?
Tom Brady, absolutely and unequivocally. It's not even a question. It's not a question. Now, I like Ryan Tannehill. I do. He's a great quarterback, and he had a phenomenal year. Let's put this in perspective. He did some things we haven't seen with Tannehill. He did some things we haven't seen in a long, long time. But when push comes to shove, you know it, Mike T, and I know that you extended Tannehill and all that good stuff.
Gave that big
but
money.
you need a guy like Brady who you trust to get it done. Tannehill in the playoffs, they just led on Derrick too much. And when you face a team like the Chiefs, you're going to need your quarterback to make some big-time throws in the playoffs.
And Acho, here's where I respectfully disagree. Look at the season he had. I think it's a lazy narrative to say it was just a Derrick Henry team. He completed over 68% of his passes, 27 touchdowns. He played really well. He led the Dolphins to the playoffs in 16 when he was healthy, and he got the team to within 30 minutes of the Super Bowl this year.
I want to make the point, further illustrate the point that you're making. Because most people weren't paying a lot of attention to Tennessee mid-season because they didn't feel like a team that was in it, and then probably just started watching them in the playoffs, a lot of people might think, well, that was just all about Derrick Henry. It was not. The second half
it was all about
Tannehill.
Let me say this, too, about the Titans. The final week of the season, when Houston rested is how they got in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So make no mistake, they made a run in the playoffs. They were very close to not making the playoffs altogether. So that's when you talk about like Super Bowl aspirations, they did get hot. Yep. Don't expect that every day. You don't want to be fighting the last week of the season to barely make it in. And when you got in, they did catch fire. But this was not a team that ran away. And everybody goes, this is a Super Bowl
Tannehill or Brady? Tannehill or Brady next year to win the championship?
I would keep Tannehill. I think you got a good locker room. I think I would.
Really?
Listen,
for 1 year.
But listen, where Tannehill is, keeping Derrick Henry, if you bring Brady, that's a tough keep on Henry. It's going to affect a lot of different things. I think Tannehill keeps the team complete.
If you go by what you see, Ryan Tannehill's trajectory continues to be this. Tom Brady's obviously close to the end, and that's why if I'm Tennessee, I'm keeping Ryan.
See,
for
now
a
I'm
number
thinking
of years.
next year.
See, they talking future, Greeny. Greeny said 1 year. They talking about the future.
Well, let's talk about the even more distant future next, because it gets us to Tua Tagovailoa. And before we can talk about his future, it all obviously starts with his past. He's had the long history of injuries at Alabama: the finger, the knee, the quad, surgery on both ankles, and then, of course, the most serious one in November when he suffered a dislocated right hip in a game against Mississippi State. But when he was playing, he was brilliant. 22-2 as a starter. Career total QBR of 93.5. That's the best ever. And it's that elite potential that has Tua projected to go near the top of the draft despite the injury concerns. Mel Kiper has him projected to go 3 overall to the Lions in his latest mock draft, and Las Vegas agrees. Caesars Sportsbook has released odds on where they think Tua will be drafted. Right now, it's a dead heat between the Lions, who are at 3, and Miami, who right now is picking 5th, but obviously could be in the market to be trading up and maybe take him at 3. So 3, yesterday Mike Tannenbaum said 3 is where the draft starts this year, and Tua will be the name. Jeff Saturday, you weren't here yesterday for these conversations. If you were the Lions at 3, do you draft Tua Tagovailoa?
Absolutely. You take Tua, you have 10 to 12 weeks at least to get him healthy, keep him healthy on his rehab. Stafford stays, does his deal. And again, you can have a fluid transition. If Tua shows you he's the guy, week 10 to 12, and your season has been what Detroit seasons have been in the past, you can put him in, get him reps, get him game ready for the following season. Think back, Kansas City Chiefs, right? Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes. Why does that fit? So because you are bringing a guy in who has been banged up, to your point. Don't rush him to the field, throw the keys, make him go do it each and every week. And again, allow his processing, not only physically, but mentally. I think this is a no-brainer. Keep Stafford, bring Tua in. This is a long-term, strong play for this.
Nacho's making skeptical noises.
Yeah, I mean, I got to disagree with my guy Jeff for 2 reasons. Number one, think long-term. Well, Stafford's only 32, as Greeny brought up yesterday. Stafford's not an old guy. Number two, this isn't like Alex Smith and Pat Mahomes, because Stafford is 1 Super Bowl away from being a Hall of Famer. He's a fringe Hall of Fame guy. Alex Smith was a fringe starter.
Sure.
And so when you look at it, Stafford's going to ball. Greeny, in this day and age, you can't bench a guy who's balling. Stafford, before he got hurt last year, was top 5 by every quarterback metric.
Yep.
So I think it'll implode and erode the team from inside
Why
out.
I like Jeff's idea, though, is you can operate from a position of strength at the quarterback position. So if Stafford plays well, like you say, he's only going to be 32, then, hey, look, a year from now, let's see who comes after him and what you could get for him. So I like it, and I think Smith and Mahomes is a good analogy.
What does history tell us, to my general manager here, if you have the opportunity to take Tua Tagovailoa at 3 right now, is his value greater in a trade right now, meaning before the draft itself, or you draft him, you have him on your roster for a year, Stafford's playing great, and now you want to trade away Tagovailoa? Do you get more or less?
You would get more because now he's healthy. He's learned the pro game for a year. So you're definitely dealing from a position of strength, Greeny. So you're going to 2021, and you can get multiple first-round picks for Tua.
But you just said Stafford was playing great until he got hurt, right?
Yeah, so you're going to replace an injury-prone for injury-prone?
You got 2 guys who have got some injury issues.
And that
it's not like Stafford was playing well. He's going to get banged up. And here's the other thing. How long does Stafford want to stay in this system where you're never winning? I mean, at some point, that gets old for a guy who's as good as Stafford. You said Hall of Fame potential, playing on an awful team year after year. At some point, that guy's going to want to pack it up and go somewhere else.
The question, though, that you pose now is, do you replace a guy who got hurt last year for a guy who's known for getting hurt? Or does 2 halves make a whole? I don't know.
And if you're the Lions, you take Tagovailoa and you trade Stafford. All these possibilities are on the table. We'll talk much more about football as we go. But the sports world also continues to be consumed with the Astros cheating scandal. It is spiraling out of control for the sport. More strong reaction from across spring training yesterday, especially from Aaron Judge and Nick Markakis.
I feel like every single guy over there needs a beating. You know, it's wrong. They're messing with people's careers. I think the commissioner completely handled it the wrong way. But, you know, I know a lot of people disagree with him, and the way he handled the situation, he should be embarrassed of himself.
I was pretty mad, pretty upset. You know, to know that we were probably, you know, cheated out of a possibility of, you know, making it to the World Series. That's tough to kind of, you know, let go. Wasn't a fan of the punishment. I thought that was a little weak for, you know, a player-driven scheme, that no players involved got any punishments.
Do you think the Astros should be stripped of their 2017 championship?
Yeah, I just don't think it holds any value. With you know, you cheated and you didn't earn it. You know, that's how I feel. Is it wasn't earned.
Now, this conversation is extended beyond baseball. LeBron James weighed in yesterday, tweeting, "Listen, I know I don't play baseball, but I'm in sports, and I know if someone cheated me out of winning the title and I found out about it, I would be bleeping irate. I mean, like uncontrollable about what I would or could do. Listen here, baseball commissioner. Listen to your players speaking today about how disgusted, mad, hurt, broken, etc. about this. Literally, the ball is in your court, or should I say field, and you need to fix this for the sake of sports." And his hashtag is "just my thoughts coming from a sports junkie, regardless my own sport I play." So with all of that as the backdrop, Rob Manfred again yesterday met with the media late in the day in Arizona, had a lot to say, starting by apologizing for calling the World Series trophy a piece of metal.
I referred to the World Series trophy in a disrespectful way, and I want to apologize for that. There's no excuse for it. Very concerned about opening the door to altering results that took place on the field. There are a lot of things that have happened in the history of the game that arguably could be corrected, and I just think it's an impossible task for an institution to undertake. I've been around a long time, and I've never seen the kind of commentary from players about other players in the entire time that I've been involved. One of the principal complaints seems to be that the Houston players were not disciplined, and that lack of discipline, the immunity, was negotiated with the union that represents players. Whether there's going to be immunity in cases going forward, given the player reaction to this issue, I think that I would have to think long and hard about that. And I do think that on a go-forward basis, it's important for us to establish player accountability on these issues.
All right, so one person's opinion. If you listened to his entire commentary yesterday, and that was a good chunk of it, he said a lot of very reasonable things, but the reaction to this does not feel very reasoned right now. People are emotional and they're upset. So I want to bring Mark Teixeira in with that as the backdrop. Tex, you've seen the way players have been so outspoken about this situation. What do you make of that?
Well, Rob Manfred's right, and I bet if he had a do-over, he wouldn't give those players immunity on the Astros, and they would have been punished. But you have to move past that. I think what you're seeing, Greeny, is Major League Baseball players policing themselves. And baseball they've done that for years. And I think what you see from Judge and Markakis, Trout, these guys, if the Astros players aren't going to get punished by Major League Baseball, then we're going to punish you. And that means humiliation. There will be guys getting thrown at during the season, and I'm not one for violence, but I think the humiliation is actually more than just, hey, I'm gonna tell you that you did something wrong, or I'm gonna tell you you cheated. I want LeBron James chiming in. I want Congress chiming in. I want the entire baseball world to know what you did, and you should be humiliated by that.
And so perhaps this is almost an impossibility, but can the Astros, under any circumstances, win back the trust of the general population and of their opponents?
Well, it's the trust and respect, and I think, listen, the Astros team wasn't very likable. You know, that they were a team that was really good. They won a lot of games. They had a lot of high-priced free agents and guys that were studs on that team. And so you look at him and you go, I may not like you, but I respected you until this cheating scandal. And so I think what the Astros need to try to do is earn that respect back from Major League Baseball. And the first thing that you can do if you're an Astros player is truly apologize. Show some real humility, not this, fake apology and then just sweep everything under the rug. I want to see Jose Altuve apologize to Aaron Judge for stealing the 2017 MVP. I want them to look at the New York Yankees and look at the LA Dodgers and say, I'm sorry, I cheated you out of a World Series. And that is my bad. It won't happen again. I'm going to earn your trust back. But we have not seen that from the Astros players. And until we see that humility, this is not going to go away.
Really well said. Tex, thanks a million, my man. We'll see you again soon as this continues to be a huge topic of conversation. We'll take a short time out. We have so much to come this morning for you on Get Up, including if Patrick Mahomes wants to win more Super Bowls, he may have to make a huge decision. We will tell you what that is coming up. And Giannis had a comment that might freak out a lot of fans. Will this superstar finish his career where it began? Answers to those and other questions as we get going. It's Get Up on ESPN.